Can a picture change a life? Can one moment change all of the days and years that follow? Tom Franklin is the photojournalist from the Record of Bergen County, New Jersey, who took one of the most famous photographs from September 11th, the shot of 3 firefighters raising the flag in the waning hours of that terrible day.
Is life totally different because of this picture, or is it just one picture in a lifetime of work?
Well, I think this picture has generated attention like no other photograph that I'm aware of. And the fact that it has meant so much to so many people is really overwhelming. Up to this point, I've received tens of thousands of phone calls, letters, and emails from people just wanting to talk about the picture, people wanting to know how they can get copies of the picture, things like that. And that's been really overwhelming and, pretty amazing.
Tom Franklin thought September 11th was going to be a quiet work day. He was just back from shooting a baseball story in the Dominican Republic. Then the first plane hit the North Tower, and Franklin left the office bound for Jersey City.
It was an incredibly dramatic scene to see all, masses of injured people covered with dust coming off the boats with the whole New York skyline in smoke as a backdrop. And strangely enough, I was there while both towers collapsed, and it was completely silent, not a sound. I mean, it was just, you saw it happening, you just couldn't believe it was happening, but you couldn't hear anything.
Franklin eventually talked his way onto a boat to Manhattan.
It was unbelievable. I mean, it was just, I'd never seen war, I've never covered war, but it's what I imagined war would look like. It was just wreckage as far as the eyes could see.
Franklin spent the afternoon trying to blend in, stay out of the way of the rescue, not get arrested. By 5 o'clock, he only had 30 shots left in his camera.
So I figured I'd walk back to the Ground Zero area, shoot the remaining frames that I had, and then I'd leave. In doing so, I saw these 3 firemen taking a flag off a mast from a boat and attaching it to this pole. And I was about 100 feet away. The whole thing probably took less than 2 minutes. I don't think they had any idea anyone was watching them. I don't think they had any idea I was taking their picture. And, within, a minute and a half, it was over. By the next morning, we were receiving thousands of phone calls an hour.
The picture created tremendous attention in the days and months to follow. A website was created, groundzerospirit.org, all about the picture. And a commemorative stamp was issued. Sales from the stamp and the picture go to charities to benefit emergency rescue workers and their families in New York City and the families of victims in North Jersey.
I think people see this as kind of their picture from that day that is a positive picture and doesn't show all the destruction and the horror of that day. It's an uplifting picture of, shows patriotism and the symbolism of the flag being raised. So I think it means a lot to a lot of different people.
Franklin's work has joined a list of photographs that are now a part of our history. Lee Harvey Oswald, shot in Dallas. The young Vietnamese girl running from a napalm attack. Man walking on the moon. Photographs from different times and places, reflecting different moods in the country. This is the picture to which Franklin's photograph has most often been compared. Joe Rosenthal's photo of the Marines raising the flag at Iwo Jima. James Bradley's father was one of the Marines in the picture. His recently published bestseller, Flags of Our Fathers, details the story of the photo and the people in it.
3 of the 6 flag raisers died in Iwo Jima without ever seeing the photo, but it changed the lives of all their families, all the brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, everybody. 3 survived. My father had the largest family. He had 8 children. We lived in the shadow of this photo all our lives, but we didn't know anything about it. My dad wouldn't talk about it.
Similarly, the firefighters in Tom Franklin's photograph have not said much, at least publicly. Their attorney says their interest is in getting out of the spotlight, escaping the microscope, and putting the charity up front.
Joe Rosenthal's picture of Iwo Jima in particular, to me, is the most amazing, symbolic news picture, of our lifetime. And to have my picture compared to his is a tremendous honor.
In 1970, John Philo was a photojournalist major at Kent State University. On Monday, May 4th, he was covering an anti-war rally that followed a weekend of protest and unrest on campus. The National Guard opened fire. 4 students were killed, 1 mere feet from Philo. Jeffrey Miller.
Noticed a girl running up to him, kneeling down beside him, and I started to change my position to shoot her more head on. And I knew I was running out of film, and you could see the tension building in her. She was taking in what she was looking at. And had this great debate with myself whether to shoot this picture or not, as she's staring down, looking at this body, with this huge stream of blood, you know, flowing down the street. And having this debate, she just let out with a scream, you know, so it was more of a reaction to her reaction.
Philo's photograph won a Pulitzer Prize, but for the young woman in the photograph, Mary Vecchio, life took a different turn. 25 years later, Vecchio spoke about the photo during a remembrance at Emerson College. She said, quote, "I have suffered because of it. I have lost jobs and lost friends and lost family. But if the photo saved one life, if it helped end the war 1 second earlier, then all I endured was worth it." In the aftermath of the moment, the photograph becomes a part of our history. Why are they ensconced in our collective memories, often more so than video? Mitchell Stevens teaches journalism at NYU and is the co-editor of Covering Catastrophe, a collection of stories from broadcast journalists covering September 11th.
A still image makes something almost into a moment, into a just, you know, a slice, just a frozen moment, because that's what it is. A video is more a type of action. I mean, the great success of that image was it captured people's feelings that we were going to fight back and we were going to respond and we were not going to be defeated.
Stevens believes the Franklin photograph has played a role in our emotional recovery, but that recovery is a long and complex process.
There's harder work to do to deal with the horror of what happened and the awfulness of what happened, and obviously some people are undertaking that, but a lot of us, I think, haven't. And the Tom Franklin image of the heroic-looking firefighters works very well for what we've wanted to do in these initial months after the attack. But I think at some point maybe we're going to have to come back to those videos of the plane going into the building and do the harder work of dealing with that horror.
In the aftermath of these pictures, families were created, careers built, lives led. But the images are still vivid, their effect everlasting.
See, people look at the photograph and in the monument it inspired, the world's tallest bronze monument, and they see these as bronzed heroes, different than us. But I lived with one of them, and I knew that the beauty of the photograph isn't that they are different than us, but that they are us.
I think the hardest thing was I met Jeffrey Miller's mother several years later, and I had no idea what I would say to her, other than I'm sorry. Mary Vecchio, the girl in the photo, we found out a few weeks later she was a runaway, a teenage runaway. And how things unfold, at the 25th anniversary, we were on a program together at Emerson College, and I listened to her story. And this is after 25 years of hearing how this picture has ruined her life, things of that nature. I mean, it wears on you.
For me, it never really got beyond the fact that, you know, thousands of people died. You know, these two symbolic buildings, you know, collapsed, and the horror of that was, you know, so much more prevalent than my picture. So to me, I never really got caught up in thinking about those kind of things. To me, it was about the people who died.
Bud Mishkin, New York 1.